Kari Lake has been spending a lot of time in Washington, D.C., using her position in the Trump administration to expose corruption. In this case, these empty D.C. buildings, and she's trying to define and expose the waste. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. If you guys are hanging out with me, I've always said this, I don't deserve you. I really appreciate getting to work for you, and I owe you a huge thanks. So here's Kari Lake, our gal.
Hi, America. I'm here in Washington, D.C. as Senior Advisor at United States Agency for Global Media. I'm working on behalf of you and President Trump and his administration, and I have been on the job for a couple of weeks now, and I'm horrified by some of the things I'm learning about this agency. I'm sitting here on the 13th floor of a shiny, brand new, beautiful skyscraper building that is costing you, the taxpayer, a fortune. The Biden administration folks who were running this agency before, right before they left office, signed a brand new lease for this building, a 15-year lease that's going to cost the taxpayer nearly $250 million. Here's the kicker. They already have a building that they're located in that is paid off, that they could have renovated or updated, but they chose instead to get us into a lease that's costing the taxpayer a fortune. I know that every one of you out there is working hard and parting with your tax dollars. You're expecting it to be used wisely, not misused and mismanaged. And I can tell you that this building is a colossal waste of money.
This is what happens when you're spending other people's money. When you spend other people's money, you're just not as frugal. That's an old Milt Friedman's saying. That's why your government wastes so much of our hard-earned dollars. The way that we spend our own money, super frugal, super careful on value. So this is missing from in general, less spending by the government is always going to be good and produce better results than this.
Take a look at what's in this building. Fancy conference rooms with wall-to-wall windows. There's 26 conference rooms, at least, that's what I've counted in this building. There are 4 bridges to nowhere, massive waterfalls, Italian marble finishes everywhere, leather furnishings, all of this being paid for by the American taxpayer. And it's not the only thing we've seen. We are seeing grants where they've taken the grants and they've changed the contracts just days before we got in here to make it less transparent for us to find out where the money's going and what's happening with these grantees. It was an obvious sign that they wanted to keep us from finding out anything that we could possibly go in and change and make better for the American taxpayer. I want you to know I'm hard at work here in Washington, D.C. I'm working to make sure that we are not being bilked out of our hard-earned dollars. And we're going to make sure we're doing everything we can to cancel contracts that can be canceled, save money, downsize, and make sure there's no misuse of your dollars.
She's downsizing even her own department. She went in and fired a bunch of people and everyone freaked out because she went into even her own department and asked for less money. You'd have Kari Lake in Arizona instead of Katie Hobbs if Arizonans voted with a brain. That's just the blue Californians leaving California because they've already ruined it, and they go into Arizona and start swinging elections. Here's Mark Hemingway. She lost to Ruben Gallego. Mark Hemingway is one of my favorite guys on the right. Here's Ruben Gallego, likely to give birth any day, says Ruben Gallego served pregnant wife with divorce papers. So Ruben Gallego says Republicans want to be pro-family, but they're abandoning new moms when they need to care the most. That was his tweet from 2 days ago. My wife just gave birth, so I can't imagine her going without postpartum care, like child's health care. And then here's Mark Hemingway. Republicans claim to be pro-family, but they're abandoning new moms when they need care most. Gallego divorced his wife when she was pregnant. There. Got him. Now, here's more from Jesse Waters on this massive $800 million payout as soon as Kamala Harris realized that she was losing.
And we're learning now that she did what Joe did and tried to pass that work off onto someone else. Using USAID, they wrote up a contract worth up to $800 million for consultants to find the root causes for them. But here's the problem. Walter Barnes III, the man who founded one of these companies that got the cash, was a known con man. He just pled guilty to a decade-long USAID bribery scheme. And the government knew he was shady for years, even before they gave him all the money. In 2023, the USAID Inspector General said Barnes lacked honesty and integrity. But on the same day, he was awarded an $800 million contract. They had good reason to be suspicious. Over the years, Barnes secured big money deals by bribing USAID employee with pricey basketball suites, a trip to the vineyard, and even a down payment on a house. Isn't that nice? And once he got paid, Barnes burned through pallets of cash, doing everything but what we paid him to do. We reached out to Walter, never got back to us.
No comment, Kamala Harris. They dumped so much money right as they were leaving the administration. They granted all these contracts, even to criminals. That's because Democrats do not respect your money. Now, here's Victor Davis Hanson with the positive results from the Trump administration on kind of a report card. Check, check, check of all the good things that Trump is doing.
They keep talking about libertarian economics and free trade, but it's not fair. And we've wiped out these whole communities of working people. You know, and it's like the Wall Street Journal. Everything they wrote about him was untrue in March. They said, we're going to be in a recession. Prices are going to go up. He's destroying trade. GDP is going to go down. Income's going to go down. And you see the April report. He halved the trade deficit from 160 billion to 80. We have the lowest inflation in 4 years. Personal income's up. Personal savings is up. Energy costs are down. And it's because he's trying to think of ways to help the middle rather than just the Republican standard orthodoxy of, you know, kind of trickle down. And so he's trying to address all of these things that allowed the progressives to be powerful. And one of them is he said, you know, we were easily caricatured as a party of the golf course and wealthy, and I'm going to transform the party into a national workers' party. And I'm going to tell a Mexican-American guy in Fresno, you have more in common with your white truck driver than the white truck driver does with a Stanford professor, or you do with a Hispanic anchor woman. And that's what he did. And it was a revolution, and I think they still haven't seen what hit them.
This is a common sense administration. I think Trump is his gut. I trust it 100%. That's the real bottom line. But this is, we got a lot of mess to clean up, including in California. This is conservative Mel Gibson, the director of Passion of the Christ, on Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, which LA is becoming a hellhole. Like I would love to live in California, but it's run by lunatics. I don't trust them. They'll take away your kids. They would throw you in prison for your speech. We saw the lockdown mandates that they did on churches during COVID, which is a government overreach. Here's Mel Gibson on the failure of Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state, and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
That's all. That seems common sense. That's very Trumpy. Very, but if you're stuck in a state with bad leadership, you got to replace that leadership. I don't know how you even do it in LA because it's so blue, but I think there could be a real backlash in the next election in 2026. We still haven't seen the voters respond to the Palisades fires and the utter incompetent leadership in rebuilding, re-granting contracts, getting people back into homes ain't going to work. And then now you have the LA riots on top of that. LA and California in general has a really clear choice to make. And if they make that same choice again and go all Democrat, all Marxist, all blue, all these Democrat apparatchiks, I think they've got the next thing that's coming to them. You know, they will have deserved it. And then finally, here's the internal FBI emails reveal Biden DOJ's obsession with finding new ways to file criminal charges against Trump. We were right again. This is the headline. It says, Miranda Devine, FBI emails revealed to the Post expose Biden Department of Justice's obsession with piling on Trump charges. This is a preview of what's coming on this show as we expose Biden's Department of Justice. That's Merrick Garland especially, but anyone in that justice, this would be Merrick Garland that actually launches all of these Trump charges, right? So it's going to be more exposure of how there's a connection to, remember, we've been looking for it between the Biden administration and the Fani Willis, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Juan Merchan, all those scam lawfare against Trump that Biden always pretended to be, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not involved at all. But now they have emails revealing that he was obsessed with piling on more and more lawsuits to flood the zone, which is what the Democrats were trying to do. I hope you guys like this kind of investigation because we'll keep doing it so long as you subscribe. Subscribing is how you say thank you, and then I'll show up in your feed for when these updates come. Thank you guys for watching. More videos to come. I'm Doug in Exile.